All right, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to another episode of the Remote Closing Academy podcast. And you clicked on the title for a reason. Today, we're talking to a pro boxer gone remote closer. So he's fought in places like Madison Square Garden and Yankee Stadium and actually went head-to-head and knocked out the two-time Olympic USA champion. I mean, you can't get better than that. So we're talking about that. We're talking about how he made the transition into being a remote closer and how he's seeing some pretty quick successes in just a 30-day period. So with all that being said, excited to share with you guys. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. Dude, before we jump into all the specifics, how you been?
I'm doing good, man. I'm thankful, actually. I'm very thankful, of everything that's been happening lately.
Sweet. So let's go ahead and we'll take it back. We were talking right before. It's like, do we have to keep this condensed? Can I give you the story? I want like the whole story, like before you even jumped into sales, before you like really knew about Remote Closing Academy, like what were you doing just, before all of that?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur, man. So before this, I still have a trucking business, and I did really well last year. I mean, last year I grossed 7 figures, but that's gross. We had 3 trucks operating, and it was great, right? Then diesel prices went up to $6 a gallon, right? Then, one of my trucks got into an accident, and I lost my relationship with Amazon. I was an independent carrier for them, so things just kind of took a little turn. And then I started this morning ritual, like waking up really early, working out, and as I'm listening to my affirmations on YouTube, of course, this guy comes on, Cole, right? You want to start a business? Don't start a business, right? So I'm hearing this guy. He keeps coming on and on. I always skip the ads. I clicked on the ad one day, because he says, don't invest in crypto. I'm like, whoa, don't invest. What?
Yeah.
So I clicked on the ad. I had just gotten to an accident with one of my trucks. It hit like a tree branch and it messed up the back. It got totaled out. I had got it checked. And then I just asked myself, man, do I want to continue doing this, trucking business? Like it just is a lot of overhead. Like I only netted 18%, of my whole gross. And I'm like, it's a lot of responsibility. I seen this guy. I'm like, let me give this guy a shot. I started with the 30-day closer, actually.
Nice.
And to be honest, at first I was like, all right, I got in, all right, whatever, and I just kept running my business, right? And then my other truck broke down, and then this truck has been giving me problems like from day one. So I got fed up. Yeah, so now I got one truck running. One truck just got totaled out. The other truck is in the shop. I had just put a transmission in this truck, like $4,000, like a few months before this. So I was pretty kind of like fed up with this trucking thing, you know what I mean? And I was just like, you know what? Let me dive back into it, So I reached out to Chris on 30-day closer, and I messaged him, hey, where do I get started? He got me started. I just started diving in, like. I kept my one driver, just drive. I said, you know what, I'm going to take a reduction in pay, but I'm just going to sacrifice this time. I'm just going to just dive into this work. And I just dove into it head first, like just gunning it every day. I would wake up, I did my routine, took my son to school, came home, just videos. I used to lead introductions for this company. It wasn't a job, though. Like, I didn't make any money off of it, but I did lead, and we had, like, a lot of extensive training and leading the format and blah, 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 blah. So once I started going through the videos and the training, I'm like, man, this is just like what I used to do for this company, but I'm going to get paid for this.
Yeah.
I'm going to get paid. And then, he started talking about some of his clients, like Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi and 10X Grant Cardone. I'm like, whoa, like I really was impressed. I'm like, oh man, like I would love to work with these guys. Like that would be phenomenal, right? their product is valuable, right? So I got excited. I didn't even have a LinkedIn page. I created my LinkedIn page, got my little video, everything up, and I just started applying, man. One thing about me is that I am pretty bold. I'm pretty bold and audacious, so I just started applying, and I landed a job, man, and it's been going good.
Good. Yeah, man. Well, I definitely want to dive into, obviously into like the offer and how you found it and some of the strategies that you used there. But I want to go like all the way back. So, back to starting talking about, the having your own business and stuff like that. So are you saying that the main reason that you, having this seven-figure business was that like in transitioning into more remote closing it's just because you weren't really making as much as you wanted to? Is that the main reason that made you want to do more remote closing
Nah, it
stuff?
wasn't the main reason because I had made the most. I just had kind of got fed up because like a whole bunch of things happened simultaneously. Like I lost my relationship with Amazon, right? So for like 3 months, I went without any work. When I got into the trucking industry, I got in with Amazon, so I didn't know the other part of it. Like you have to work with brokers and you have to use different load boards. And when you're an entrepreneur, no one's telling you how to do anything, right? Like you have to do everything yourself, right? So I went 3 months without any income, like just living off my savings, Then I learned the whole little, you gotta call brokers and you gotta work with different shippers, and then I got into a nice little rhythm. Now my fiance, she completely runs that with the 2 trucks, and it's going good, but it's just not efficient because you have to put in so much work just to make 18% of what you gross. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And if you look at that, like it was almost like, it sounds like it almost like, everyone says it happens for a reason, right? It's like one truck goes down and then another truck goes down and then you lose the partnership with Amazon. It's like everything back to back. It's like, these are signs that are like,
no,
okay,
listen, look how weird this is. Look how weird this is. You ready? So I got suckered into this ad, right? I'm talking about, positive affirmations and, download this audio and things are gonna start showing up. And I'm like a dreamer, right? Like I'm a dreamer, right? So I'm like, you know what? Worst case scenario, I lose $40. I bought the audio, right? The positive affirmations, opening up your wealth DNA, right? Bro, and then like the next day I seen this ad for Chris.
Yo, that's crazy.
And I seen the ad before, but I will skip it. But this time it appealed. I'm like, hold up, I'm clicking on it.
Yeah, it's like you needed, that was your like affirmation of like, I literally I bought into this thing and now here's this ad.
It was crazy. I told my lady about it and she's like, that's a waste of money. I'm like, well, whatever, it's $40. We waste $40 all the time. And then I'm like, guess what? I clicked on this link. She's like, oh, another ad. I'm like, yeah. And then now I'm like, baby, we just did 2,400 last week. Oh man.
Yeah.
Dude,
that's awesome. Yeah. It proves that like there's, everything happens for a reason, and like you're brought through this path by, call it God, call it universe, whatever. So for you, what do you think, like, was there ever, I know you kind of talked about it, but like any like main hesitations of, jumping in? I know you said, you talked to Chris or you talked to someone from the team and, you kind of went through that process, but what was like that thought process between like, okay, maybe I'm not going to do this, and then there was some time and then like brought you back in? What was the main thing?
Well, I went through this training on like how we work as humans, right? Like the methodology of ontology, like how we operate as humans. And one of the things I discovered is that we never want to get out of our comfort zone. Like naturally, we don't want to do something new. It's like part of our identity. You get what I'm saying? So I felt it like, I'm being discomfort right now, I want to kind of just stick to doing what I'm doing. Okay. And for some reason, I was just like, you know what? I was more comfortable with the trucking since I know the trucking. I can predict the trucking. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to just try to just do this, right? I even got into the driver's seat. Like, So since I started my trucking business, like my first year I did all the driving, but after that I scaled, and for 2 years I didn't do no driving. I was just managing the business. This year I was driving my truck, bro, like 10, 15 hours a day. You know, like miserable. Like my life is bigger than driving a truck. You get what I'm saying? Like I belong home with my family. Like I want to take my son to school. Like I want to go on the field trip. You know, I'm going on this Friday. I'm chaperoning at my son's school trip to the State Theater because of remote closing.
That's amazing. I love that. Yeah, and just like being able to fully, you know, once you jump back, and I mean literally jump back in the driver's seat, you realize
literally,
there's so much more, like, you know, when you're spending the 10 to 15 hours, it's like it's not just taxing on your mental state and you know that stuff, but it also pulls, you know, because you have a family, it pulls time away from that. So being able to work from home and pick the hours, like I'm sure it's helped out a ton, right? It's been in how when did you so when did you jump into 30-day closer? Do you remember the
November? It was late November. It was after Thanksgiving. Yep.
Okay. And when did you so for those of you that are watching and listening, if you don't know, we have, you know, because people always ask this, right? It's like, do we have to like jump into the full program? The answer is no. We have a couple different things, right? We have something a little bit lower ticket, we'll say, that like kind of gets your feet wet a little bit, and it's like, hey, you know, you can upgrade, we can help you a little bit more. So when did you transition from 30-day closer into like regular RCA?
I had heard from the grapevines that Grant Cardone was looking for closers, specifically from RCA.
Yeah,
that's what made me like draw the line in the sand. Like I'm like, man, Grant Cardone, he's specifically looking for RCA people, you know, and I'm just like that, like thinking like, man. And I just jumped, man. I reached out to RCA. I'm like, I got to get in on this. You know what I mean? I have confidence in my ability. Just put me in front, and I believe I'll deliver. You know what I mean? Just put me up on the stage, I'll get it done. And the only way to get there was through RCA, man. So I joined RCA, and I mean, I went to the interview with Daniel. You know Daniel? I did the interview with Daniel December 22nd. It was about 13 of us. He said that we all got the role. We're supposed to hear back this week, the second week of January, if we're going to be chat support or if we're going to be closers. We had to do like a mocking call with Daniel. It was pretty fun. And let me tell you, I was nervous. Like in the interview. Listen, I was a professional boxer. You see that title? Like, so nice. I fought Madison Square Garden. I fought Yankee Stadium, Atlantic City. So
hold on. Okay, you just said something about boxing, and you're a boxer in Madison Square Garden. Let's break that down. So when did you get into boxing?
Oh, I first started boxing when I was like 11, 12 years old in Puerto Rico.
Cool. And what's like how long did you do that? Like, what are some I don't know, just some main, like, I guess, parts from that story?
Man, yeah. So as an amateur, man, I had 104 fights. Man, I was 92-12. I represented the United States in different world events. I was the top 3 as an amateur for like 4 years. You know, we used to train at Colorado, at the Colorado Springs Olympic Training Center over there. We also trained at the Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid, New York. You know, it was a very fun part of my life. You know, I got to travel the world. I mean, I went to England several times. I was invited to Romania. I won the Golden Gloves. That's a more popular tournament, right? Everybody knows the Golden Gloves. Yeah. I won the New Jersey Golden Gloves 5 times, and I won the National Golden Gloves once.
Nice. Who was that? Who was that one against? Or like? What,
I don't remember. I was like 17 years old, man. You know what it was? David Clark. David Clark was in the final. Okay. That's why I fought David Clark. And David Clark, I remember David because he was like a really good amateur. He was part of the Michigan Marquette University in their training program. Yeah. And I fought him there. Yeah, David Clark. He hit me hard. I remember. I went down.
That's funny. What was your what did your record like end up being at the end of it? When did you 2 questions. What was your record? And then when did you like make the transition out of that to like owning your own thing?
Well, as an amateur, I finished my career with 92 wins and 12 losses. I had 104 fights. But when I went to the National Golden Gloves, like I was like around 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a guy came up to me and was like, "Hey, do you want to turn pro? Do you want to make money?" And you know, I come from the streets, you know, so I don't have any like background in contracts or none of that stuff. This guy offered me $10,000 to sign some paperwork. I took it. You know,
Nice.
I signed it. I turned pro, and about a year after, he had me fighting at Madison Square Garden. Like, you know, my first fight, it was kind of like a oxymoron because like I felt like I was being set up to lose. I was fighting a two-time Olympic gold medalist.
Oh man.
And I didn't even know he was a gold medalist until they're announcing him at the fight. Like, you know, I'm excited. I'm from New Jersey, so I had everybody over there at Madison Square Garden, and I'm jumping up and down and getting ready to fight, and they're like, and the 2-time Olympic gold medalist. And I thought to myself, I said, hold up. I never won any gold medals. They're not talking about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, man, it was really, and then I looked to my corner. Matter of fact, that fight's on YouTube or on the internet somewhere. I looked at my corner, and they literally looked the other way, man. And
Bro, they set you up.
They set my ass up, bro. And
man.
well, I don't know if they set me up or if they were just upset. I don't know. I don't want to talk bad about them.
Yeah.
Because I'm very grateful that I got to fight there. Anyways, I knocked him out, bro. I knocked him out cold.
I was gonna ask, did you win?
I knocked him out cold in the 6th round. Like that was my worst knockout ever. Like he was out for like minutes on the ground. Yeah, it was a really fun night.
We'll have to find the video and put it like in the description or something. I'm gonna watch it. It's funny because Cole's super into like MMA, like boxing, all that stuff. So I'll have to send it to him. And
oh, that's cool. He'll appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he literally like
on my LinkedIn page. On my LinkedIn page, I got the videos down there.
Sweet.
Underneath my boxing career. Yep.
Sweet. I'm gonna link it to him right after we chat. So, what was that transition from the boxing stuff into like owning your own thing?
Well, you know, towards the end of my boxing career, you know, I found out that I was going to be a father. You know, so you know, unfortunately, I have a background, so people wouldn't want to hire me. So you know, I'm like, man, I got to make it happen. You know, and then I got a little job. One of my boxing coach at the time knew the guy at like the park cleaning maintenance in our town. He got me a job there. I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing, bro, but I'm getting like $16 an hour. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, man, I can't support no family like this.
Yeah.
So I think my first business was a bail bond agency. No, I'm lying. It was a commercial cleaning franchise. I invested $10,000 into this commercial cleaning franchise, but this was before I was going to be a father. Once I was going to be a father, my first thing was I got a job as a park maintenance guy. Then from there, I'm like, this is not going to pay the bills. And then I opened up a bail bond agency because I bailed out my little cousin from jail. And when I went into the bail bond office, the bail bond guy saw me fight on TV. So
got it.
Yeah. So when he saw me fight, he was pretty, you know, he saw me walk in his office. He was pretty like, you know, excited. Oh, wow, I just saw you fight. And we started building, you know, and then we were connecting and we became good friends for a certain time. And then he taught me the whole bail bond industry. And then from the bail bond industry, man, that's the first time that I made 6 figures, man. Like I was living life high. I had my own office. I opened up a barbershop downstairs on the first floor. I thought I was killing it. And then they passed this law in New Jersey where there's no more bails. It's called the New Jersey Bail Reform.
Oh.
So literally from December 31st of 2017 to January 1st of 2018, I lost my business, bro.
man.
No, and the worst part about it, the worst part about it is that I was still responsible for all the people that I built out before.
Oh man.
Yeah. So normally when someone didn't show up to court, I would just hire a fugitive recovery guy to go pick them up. But now I don't got that income coming in. I'm picking up guys. I have to go and put GPS devices on people's cars and like ping their phone, and like it was crazy for like almost for months, just chasing people down and not even getting paid for it, just so that I don't have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it sounds like a kind of a mess, and like that, couple, I mean, less than a year, like a couple months.
Oh man, listen, my life has been ups and downs, man. Yeah. Like I'm just trying to feed my family, Mm-hmm. So from there, I had the barbershop that kept me alive. I lost my bail bond business, but then I had the barbershop that I was just renting the chairs out, so it made me like about $3,000 a month. Nothing crazy, but it kept us alive. And then I had a fight in November of 2017, and then I got into the trucks business. No, 2018. And then with that money, I sold my barbershop. I got the money from the fight, and I bought me a truck.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really busted my butt the first year working those trucks. And then I partnered up with Amazon, and that was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And then
cool, man.
And then now they got those little vans delivering all their packages now, so they don't need us anymore. We used to deliver the freight to the post offices from the Amazon warehouse. We used to bring it to the post office, but now that they got all those little vans, they don't use the post office as much, so they let us go. They let everybody go.
Let's maybe take a couple steps back. So you see the ad. You have the conversations, you jumped into RCA, like what was the next step? So you jump in, like what did it look like? And I know you said like you went through the content, you went really quick, but like what were like those next couple steps after you jumped in?
The calls, the mocking calls, like setting up. I mean, that was one thing that, let me tell you, the school, that school thing you guys use, that is so beneficial. Like that is where all the value is, because you really have a community of people that are like up to the same thing you're up to. So everyone's making themselves available and they're sending their calendar link. I was booking calls all week. I got so many recordings, but then by the time I was almost towards the end of my little process, I knew that whole set of script, like from the back of my head. I'm like, I got this. And then honestly, I was just like, man, like, bro, like I got this. Like, just apply. Just go to apply.
How many mock calls did you do? Just if you know, like off the top.
Less than 30. Like, I didn't get to 30. I didn't get to 30. But I'm talking about in like a week and a half or 2 weeks. I mean, you got to think about it. I started aggressively with the school thing, with the 30-day closer, late November. I started my gig in like late December.
Yeah. Well, that's what that's the main reason I asked, like how many calls and like how quickly you got up and running. Cause that's like, I mean, if we're really putting it like into perspective, it's like a 30-day turnaround, like maybe a little bit more than 30 days. 30 days.
No, it was.
That's quick.
So worth it. Listen, I'm this week, I'm getting paid. We get paid every 2 weeks. As of right now, I'm going to get, I'm getting 24 for last week. I'm getting another 6 for yesterday. I closed somebody yesterday, and then I'm getting another 4. So I'm gonna get like 3,600 on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Nice for 2 weeks.
For like 2 weeks. Yep.
Nice.
Like a week and a half.
That's
like,
amazing.
Oh, like come on, really? Like I already like almost 10x my investment.
We're Grant Cardone thing, yeah. Okay, so you go through, you do a ton of mock calls. So this gig that you got, like that you're currently with, not the one that we're waiting on. It was self-sourced, right? The one you're on now.
Yeah. I mean, it was all following the instructions from RCA. I mean, go to LinkedIn. You put I forgot what you got to search. You search a specific thing that they tell you to search, and you apply to different jobs. And then I didn't even have a LinkedIn page. So I had to create my LinkedIn page. I remember I spent the whole day creating my little video. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, that's not good.
How many, when it came down to it, how many, I guess, people did you, let's break down the numbers. So how many like companies did you reach out to? And then out of those, like how many like appointments, like conversations, like interviews did you have to get to that point where you got placed or like, you know, positive response?
I can actually tell you, man. I could pull it up, man. I think it was like 48. I think it was 48 jobs that I had applied to.
Yeah. While you do that, I want to explain kind of how important that is. So, you know, and this goes, I think, with everything in life, right? It's like, you know, sometimes people will look at, you know, if they hear the word 48, like reached out, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so many that you reached out to. But when you really break it down, it's like, let's say it took you a week, right? You're only reaching out to maybe 6-7 people a day, which is not that much at all. A lot of these are pretty, you know, cut and paste in terms of that process. And then, you know, from there, it's like you're having those conversations. But, you know, I also want people to remember that it's like we're talking about life-changing, like putting yourself in a life-changing financial situation, right? Whether it's 5,000, 10,000, 20, 30, 50,000 a month, right? And so if you just spend, let's say, a week, 2 weeks doing that, I mean, you're putting yourself in an almost inevitable position to then get placed into that offer because you just put in the numbers, you know? So what's the number?
It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. It's all a numbers game. It was actually 49.
Nice.
It was actually 49. I did exactly what, you know, what they told us to do. Like, you have to keep tab of everything. I noted the dates. You know, if they're interested, if they replied, if I reached out, all that stuff. It was 49 people. Wade Marketing was the 22nd one. The
What's
22nd job. My current gig now is with a company called Wade Marketing.
Oh, sweet.
And they were my 22nd application. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I even marked it as yellow, like a special one, like that I was really attracted to them.
Yeah. Nice. And you got placed in them. So yeah, I mean, that's just a further point. It's like, you know, let's say you reached out to 10 or reached out to 15 or even 20 and you're like, oh, this doesn't work. Like even just 2 more, right? At the 22, you would have,
2 more, right.
You would have hit that spot. So, you know, I want, especially because, this is going live to everyone that's currently within, you know, RCA. And then obviously when we put it on YouTube and the podcast app, like it'll go out to, you know, hundreds, thousands more, is just whatever you're doing, whether it's RCA or you're trying to better your life in, you know, health or whatever. It's just like continue to do the things that you know are going to get you to that point. And again, it'll be inevitable. So, okay. So you go through, you have the conversation. What was the like interview process like for number 22 for your current offer? Like, did you have to do mock calls? Like what
you know what? I said RCA and I didn't even need a mock call.
They're just like, all right, hired.
No, I thought it was so weird. I'm like, what? Like, no mock calls, nothing? But then it turns out, when I got into the group with the other closers, they added me to their Telegram group of closers, right? Mm. And there was another RCA participant there. His name is Najee. And I was, you know, once I started shadowing different callers, I'm like, oh, this guy's part of RCA. Like, yeah, you know? Yeah, so then once I reached out to him, like after the call, like we clicked, like we talked, like we're really close now, like, and we really started building, you know, we started building, started working with each other. He calls me for some, you know, some advice. I call him sometimes, you know, and it's just a really good camaraderie, you know, that we both graduated from the same school, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's like, I want people to kind of understand back to even what you said before of like, you know, making the jump into 30-day closer and then into RCA. It's like, you know, some people look at it as like, oh, like this is like expensive or that's a lot of money. But you got to remember that, number one, the best investment that you can make is in yourself, right? So it's like you're investing into like to make it like you create a better life for yourself. And then number two, it can't even like explain how important it is to, you know, invest in yourself from a standpoint of you're also like telling other people as a remote closer to invest in themselves. So it's like you can't really tell someone to invest in themselves if you haven't done it. Like do it yourself. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then, you know, also just like with RCA, you kind of get that like, you know, seal of approval, which we're actually, I think it's in the works. We're creating like a legitimate like certification program to where people will be able to say like, hey, like certified RCA closer. And then kind of like you said, it's like, it gives you that, you know, they skip
No
the
my
process,
calls.
like
No
RCA,
my
yeah.
calls.
Like RCA, this guy knows it. He gets it. He went through the process and
I
like, yeah, they know how it goes. So, okay,
You're
cool. So
not gonna
let's
believe this. I'm
tell
sorry. Go
me.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Tell me, please.
So yesterday, I closed somebody. I don't like to call it closer. I like to say register. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
register.
yeah.
I closed somebody, right? He called me today because he didn't get some emails or something like that, and then he goes, "Hey, listen, I got a personal question for you." I said, "What's up?" Did you take that Cole Gordon like training program?
Yo, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Did you
I'm
connect
like,
him to a closer or one of our people?
no. I said, what makes you say that? He goes, man, because you know, I did that training program a few years ago, and you did it exactly how he does it.
Oh, nice.
Yep,
That's
yep.
hilarious.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
even people like outside the realm know the process. It's, well, you know, technically they went through the process, but still, it's like it's such a small world with all the stuff, you know.
It is. I call Cole Gordon. He's the godfather of RCA, like of remote closing. Like he's the godfather of remote closing. Like he really is. Like this guy yesterday, he's an entrepreneur. He said I'm in sales before. Listen, I know the whole thing. He told me a few times during the
Yeah.
call. I know the whole thing. I double tied his ass down. Double tied it. I isolated it. I'm like, bro, are you serious? I mean, this is a no brainer. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
what else? What other uncertainties you have? No, I just want to think about it. What is there to think about? You're an entrepreneur. What do you want to think about? Is thinking going to produce a result for you or actions? All right. You know, you're
Yeah.
right. We have a 90-day money back guarantee. I'm like, listen, worst case scenario, this is going to be a savings account for you that you're going to hold for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Got him.
It's so funny, like how I think that's like a tell a lot of times if someone comes in like on the call and they're like, oh yeah, I'm not buying today, or you know, whatever, it's like they're gonna buy today. You can't put that one over on me. It's like they think that they understand the process, but at the end, like they also know that like it's the right, like they wouldn't be on the call if they didn't think it was gonna be the right thing for them, you know?
No, but exactly. No, but you're exactly right. Like it's like they're resisting being sold, but yet they're interested in it.
Yeah, exactly. Before, we already talked about, you know, getting the gig, how everything's going. So let's go a little bit deeper into that. So, like, how many calls are you doing on a daily basis? You know, what has been the process like so far? How you feeling about it? And let's break that down.
So when I start at the end of December, so it was the holidays. So the CEO Zach, who's like a really cool guy, he's like, it's gonna be very slow because of the holidays, right? And you guys are probably gonna get a lot of no shows. And he was like spot on, slow, a lot of no shows. The year came and my calendar started getting filled up. Like I'm starting to get like 4 calls, 5 calls a day. One day I even had 6 calls. I mean, this is the second week though, so it's not, you know, I really can't tell you. But the first week I had I did the numbers. I keep note of everything. Like I keep tab of everything. It was 15 calls.
I mean, that's 15.
I had 15 calls my first week, and I had 4. And let me tell you, my lady told me not to include 3 of them because 3 of them were calls that they were like leads that were not supposed to be there because they somehow were getting calls from people from like Nigeria. You know, where their currency is like nowhere near the US dollar, you know what I mean? So
that's the way that it usually should be. I mean, it should be on offers, like the close rate should be on offers given, right? So like those people you probably didn't even give an offer to. So if you take that, you know, 15, 13, and then you said you closed 4?
4. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean that's 30% basically, which is, I mean, solid for a first week.
Yeah. I mean, today I had 3 calls. Yesterday I had 2. I only closed one, and I have a follow up for tomorrow. There's this girl that I led to today. It all depends on if she hears back from this other job or not. If she hears back by today, then she's not going to sign up. But if she doesn't hear back by today, she's going to sign up tomorrow.
Sweet. Cool. So you said, so you're probably like standard commission, right? So the offer you said is 6,000 is the offer, 6, and then you're making 10%.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
And then you said over the last, so what is minimum, like based on like other standards as closers, what is minimum KPI as a closer? Like what should you be making at the minimum?
I mean, I don't know about shoulds or shouldn't. It's all relative to, your effectiveness at living. But for me, I need to make at least $10K a month. Like, my son goes to private school. He's been in private school since he was like 2 years old. My daughter, she's about to start going next year. I gotta make at least 10 a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean you're basically pretty close to being on track to that. I mean, if you're taking into consideration you did 2,400 in like a week and a half, and then that all things considered, you could probably have more calls, and you're still ramping up in the offer, which generally it'll take 30 to 60 days to really understand the offer, figure out like the whole process, the everything between the guarantees, stuff like that.
Yeah, listen, my commitment and the way I see it is I'm gonna get a part of that Grant Cardone team. Those
Yeah.
Those are only events. I'm only gonna be part of the events though.
Yeah.
They do events like 13 times. He said they're gonna have 13 events this year. So they'll send an email out like, hey, we got an event. The first event is in February 14th to 16th, on Valentine's Day. So I'll just go to that and I'll just tell Wade Marketing like, hey, look, I'm gonna be off these few days. You know what I mean? But I want to just stick with Wade and then whenever these events come, go with 10X. And then I still got my truck. I still got my trucking business going, so we're good.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about the grants offer is like it's because like you said it's 13 times a year, so it's like you can still be on that offer, but like still have like another offer going on and make an additional 5, 7, 10,000 in a weekend for these events. Yeah. So that's kind of the cool part about all of that. Cool. So what are some other like wins that you've seen, let's say in the last, since being in RCA, like what other things do you feel like you've pulled from it other than, the offers?
The best thing is that training, bro. Like the training, like those videos, like there's a lot of value in those training. Like right now I'm going through spouse rejections, like spouse objections, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like I'm just watching it over and over and over and over and over and how to deal with that, because last week I had a spouse rejection. I really didn't know how to handle it. Like I was like, okay, go talk to him,
Yeah.
But then the way Cole has you do it is like, all right, cool, get him on the phone. Get him on the phone. Can you?
Yeah, it's all super dependent on the situation, because a lot of times like if we look at a spouse partner, right? I need to talk to my business partner, I need to talk to my wife, my husband, whatever. It's like a lot of times that's like they know in their mind that that's like almost like the silver, or not the silver bullet. It's like the silver bullet. It's like I know if I say this, I don't have to be sold. And it's like, okay, gotcha. So what are you going to talk to them about? Like, how are you going to break it down to them? You give them, basically a script of how they talk to their spouse, get them on the phone. Like there's a whole process to make sure that it's,
This call's going to go either two ways. Either you're going to go up on the call and you're going to be like, hey, baby, I saw this guy, I met this guy on the internet, and, he's trying to sell me this program at $7,000 and I think it's going to help me out. What do you think? Or it's going to be like, baby, look, I'm finally going to transform our business. I'm fully committed into this. Not only that, I'm going to get help. I'm going to have a coach, and they're going to help me, guide me through this process, and it's only going to take this amount of money. And I'm just letting you know because I just want you to be in this with me wholeheartedly, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Which of those two things you're going to believe?
Yeah. You've been watching the training.
Of course. Come on, man. Like his training is like, so So, besides your husband, is there anything, keeping you being less 100% sure that this is something you want to do now?
Mm-hmm.
You
Just
know
the
what I
right
mean?
thing.
Like,
Now's the right time. You can.
yeah,
It's so funny. You can hear it, like, because I worked with Cole for almost 2.5 years at this point, and I hear him just say the same things over and over
yeah,
and over and over again. And like same thing with you. Like I think the biggest tip that I would give to people is we kind of joke about it sometimes, but listen, like when you're at the gym, when you're in the car, when you're about to go to
yeah.
sleep, just have like something, like just have the training going, and it just like subconsciously goes, like sticks into your mind. So when it gets to a point where you do get these objections, it's like, oh, I remember Cole said, here's how you do it. What is holding you back, and what is holding you back and thinking that this is the right thing and now's the right time to help you get to insert goal.
But let me
It's
tell
just
you, man, I cheat, man. I cheat, bro. Look, I have two monitors, right? So when I share my screen with them, I share them one monitor. But the monitor that I'm looking at you through Zoom, it's this window is actually very small, and actually my whole page is my script, and I have my different tabs up top. I have
that's how you do it. There's no other way.
financial objections, spouse objections. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I even have notes like.
Yeah, it's no different than like, it's no different than following a map, It's
exactly.
like you wouldn't, if I'm about to go to, a road trip somewhere, right? I'm not just going to say like, all right, hopefully I can like remember, let's say I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Florida, and I pull up my phone for 2 seconds. I'm like, all right, let me remember every single thing that I need to do to get to Florida. It's like,
no
you
way,
don't do
Jose.
that, right? You pull up Waze, or you pull up Google Maps. Same thing with this. It's like you don't want an entire full down script and read through it line by line, but you want a map. You want just a framework that you can follow. Yep. So okay, if they say this, I say this. Here's the next part I want to go through. And give yourself a reference so you can you don't go in blind.
Yep. I mean, I don't know if it was Cole, if it was that little audio that I downloaded, but this definitely been. I'm thankful for this, man. I'm really thankful for Cole. Like I'm really, I probably bothered Chris. Chris Adke, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know Chris. You didn't bother him. Dude's literally a teddy bear. Love him to death. So you didn't bother him.
Right? I just kept telling him how thankful I am. Like, bro, like, yo, I'm so thankful. Like back to back. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
and he's so responsive. Like I enrolled. I went, some time without doing anything. I came right back. I sent him a message, and he responds like that. Like he's just so responsive, man. Like it just works. Having people like that part of your organization, like it just really works, man. I'm grateful for him too a lot, man.
Good. That's good to hear. I'll share this with him too, because anytime, like, everyone shouts out Chris, like if Chris is the coach, like everyone gives him a shout out, which is it's cool. Cool, man. So what were some of the, maybe, like, we talk a lot about like the highs, right? Like, oh, these are the successes in this. I mean, it's been a short amount of time, from November up into now. Has there been any like roadblocks that you've hit, or like struggles like throughout the process that if someone's looking to get into like RCA, like something that they should look out for?
What I can tell you from my experience in like leading introductions, and that's kind of like a B2C type thing, is one of the things that I got is that whenever you get kind of like stuck and you just can't like register people, it's when you're making things about you, like when you're focusing your energy on you. When you get to the point where you kind of just disappear and you make it all about them and adding value to them and seeing how you can be of service to them, how this would benefit them, and you make it all about the prospect. Like you make it all about making a difference. The close, it happens by itself. If you're focused on you, like, oh, I need to close this, I got to get this closed, I got to make this money. Yeah. If you focus on you, you're a very limiting person. Like all the energy is in here, and guess what? They're gonna feel that energy over there. They're gonna feel that, and there's gonna be some type of like a disconnect because you're so focused over here. So what I would say is, I mean, it's happened to me a few times where I'm thinking like, I mean, I'm human too, right? So I'm always thinking like the first thing is my human is I gotta get this money, right? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Right? I gotta get this money, right? Oh, I got 4 calls. I'm closing 2 of them today. Like I gotta make like no, like hold up, Jorge, hold up, chill. Like make it about them. Like there's even been a call where I disqualified somebody. I'm like, hey, listen, I don't think this is gonna be a good fit for you, and I don't want to waste your time. You know, she wanted a director role, and the type of things that whatever. I'm not gonna get into the details, but she wanted X. We didn't really offer X. Instead of trying to just sell her, and I'm like, honestly, I don't think it's gonna be a good fit for you. And she's like, you know what? Come to think about it, I think you're right. And just got off this call with her. Yeah, that's really it. Just focus on people. Focus on making a difference. Put your attention out there in the world with people and making a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such an important thing, because you're right. Like inherently, like as humans, we are selfish. So and especially when you go into a program and you made an investment, you're looking to make that investment back quickly. It's like like, okay, this call I can make this percentage of my my investment back, and it's just like that's always in the back of your head. What would you say? Let's take it one step further. Someone that may be in that situation, they're like, oh, I want to focus more and like help that person, but for whatever reason they can't. Do you have anything that you would that helped you kind of like put the attention on them first?
What do you mean? Ask me that again.
Yeah, that's kind of a confused question. So basically I'm saying like, if let's say someone is in that position where they are being a little bit too selfish and they're like, they can't find themselves to be more about the person and selfless and not selfish on the calls. Have you found anything?
Okay, so the first step you have to do is recognize that you're being selfish. You have to be aware of it. Like if you're unaware of it, it's in the blind spot. So for you, it doesn't even exist. You know what I mean? The first step is to being able to discover that you're being selfish, right? To be straightforward with yourself. Like, holy shit, like I'm just thinking about me right now. You know what I mean? Like I don't even care that this guy has 3 kids and he wants to, I just want him to fucking sign up right now because I need his money. Excuse my French, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, you're good.
So first just be aware of it. Like just catch yourself, when you're being selfish, and if you're unaware of it and you're going to start taking on this training, at first you're going to be selfish, not be aware of it, and then be like, oh my God, I was being selfish. So that's the first step of discovering that you're being selfish.
Yeah.
And just keep practicing that. And then once you practice being, discovering that you're being selfish, the next step is to be straight about it. Like, yeah, I'm being selfish. And then complete it. Like, it's okay. We're humans, bro. Like we're just not perfect at all. Right?
Yeah.
We need a lot of compassion to deal with humanity because we do some of the stupidest things sometimes, but whatever. You have to just be straightforward with yourself. Say, look, I'm being selfish. I got that. Cool. Am I committed to being selfish? No. Okay. Always ask yourself that. That word right there is always going to be consistent to who you really are, your commitment. You ask yourself, are you committed to being selfish? No, I'm not committed to being selfish. All right, what am I committed to? I'm committed to earning an income and I'm committed to making a difference. All right, cool. So let's be out there with them. You know what I mean? It's like you plant the seed. Like you want to get some fruits or some bananas or apples. You're not focusing on the apple. You got to focus on nurturing the seed. You got to make a difference with the seed. You got to plant it. You got to take care of it. Take the weeds out from around it. Be caring and loving and committed.
Yeah. And I'll add one more thing to it. And you kind of talked about it earlier, but I think like, number one, awareness. Number two, understanding that you being selfless and about the person and caring about the person, like you said, the close just happens. It happens organically because they can feel, okay, this person isn't just about making a paycheck. They understand, and they put back in front of me, they were listening when I said, this is my goal. And they were listening when I said, this is my, my long-term vision, and this is what I want to do, with the extra finances or whatever they're, achieving with that. This is why I want to lose weight. This is why I want to build a business, whatever it is, right? And just the more that you can communicate that with them, it's like, okay, this person was listening and they actually care about me,
Right.
Cool, man. What would you say to someone? Because I think this a couple last questions here is, first one being that, like, when you were in that position where you're listening to the YouTube video and, we kind of got your attention with, don't start a business and, don't do crypto stuff. What would you say to someone that is kind of like in that position where they're like, well, maybe I should like get into crypto, or maybe I should, start this Amazon FBA business. What would you say to that person to kind of tell them like, that might not be the way to go. Like maybe remote closing is a better route.
What would I tell them? I mean, I know that a business is a headache. Like, to open up a business and to run a business and to manage a business, bro, it's a headache. Like, you don't want that.
Yeah.
Cryptos. I invest in cryptos, but you have no control over cryptos. Like, that's completely out of your hands. Like, you got to just sit tight. You know what I mean? This is tangible. This is in your hands. This is really in your hands. Like, there's a process that they created, a methodology that works, and it's given to you. And all you have to do is hit play while you're in the car. Like, it's been a cool thing because we go snowboarding on the weekends all the time, my son and I, and I'm always listening to Cole, right? And he's like, well, you always listening to that. I'm like, well, guess what? This week we had 4 closes. How do you think I was able to get there?
Yeah.
By listening to that.
Yeah.
And I said, how many times did I listen to it? Oh, a whole bunch of times. That's called practice. And that's what's going to make you good at things. You got to practice, repetition. So it's actually been a good parenting tool as well.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, when you can showcase that you were actively being a student as well, even when you're not in school anymore, it's like, it gives them kind of that understanding of like, okay, long term, it's like, these are the skills that I'm learning, and I'm doing this not just because, hey, I just want to listen to stuff. It's because you're building up the skills and repetition and practicing. Like, it helps out a ton. What would you say to someone that is maybe on the fence of like jumping into RCA specifically, right? We talked about like starting a business, whatever. Now it's like someone has had a conversation with someone from the team and they just have hesitancies of like jumping in because maybe they've like tried investing in something before, or, whatever it may be. Like, what would you say to them to be like, hey, don't worry about that. Like, jump in. It's going to be worth it.
Yeah, listen, money comes, money goes. And money is made to be spent. Money is made to be spent. It's made to be used. The difference is what you use it on. Are you going to go buy yourself a new PS5? Or are you going to make an investment in yourself? I tell my son this all the time. Like, he has a little savings account, and he wants to, buy Pokemon cards with it. And I'm like, well, are those Pokemons going to produce you more money? No. So instead, we're saving it so that in the springtime, we're going to get him a chicken coop.
Oh, nice.
And then he's going to sell eggs to the neighbors.
That's awesome.
So
yeah.
Either way, we're going to spend the money. We could have spent it on Pokemon cards, or we could spend it on the chicken coop. That's going to be able to get him more Pokemon cards. So with RCA, it's literally the safest investment that you can make, because it's all right there for you. I mean, there's videos, tons of videos that are going to tell you specifically what you need. You got to just put the work in it. I mean, it's not like you're going to make the investment and you're going to get calls and you're going to close calls. Yeah. No, you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work. And the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. Yeah, man. It's been, for me, one of the most efficient investments. Efficient. I mean, Think about it. November, it's January. I'm up like 4K, 5K right now. You know what I mean?
It's not bad. It's not a bad investment. So let's take some we're gonna take a couple questions, and for those of you that are listening live, go ahead and drop some questions if you want to. I think we had one in here. Chirani, hopefully I'm saying that right. They asked, did you know that you wanted to start off closing, or it's kind of worded weird, but I think the main question is like, when you jumped in, did you go straight into being like, I want to be a closer, or did you were you thinking about doing setting and then closing? Like, what was that thought process?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I'm sorry, Chris, for not taking your advice. Chris told me to be a setter first. and I you know what? And I told Chris that I was gonna be a setter. I'm like, listen, I don't agree with you, Chris, but I'm just gonna take your coaching, okay? But then I started thinking about it, like, man, like, hold up, I gotta make this money, you know? Yeah. I need to make. I gotta make this money. So I'm like, and it honestly took a lot from me. Like, man, like, I just jumped right into closing, man. I just jumped right into closing, just to answer that question.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think, just to kind of piggyback off of that for, someone that's maybe listening of like, is it recommended to do, one or the other? I think, you're in a really, you're in an interesting situation to where like you've owned your own business before. You have a good personality. You've talked to people, right? You already kind of have that down. I feel like you've done a ton of sales.
I've been in business my whole entire adult life. Like,
exactly.
I had a bail bond business before this. I had a commercial cleaning franchise. I'm always hustling on the phone, so it came natural to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So I think anyone else listening, if you have the background of like you've done sales, or for me, when I first started, and I didn't start in remote closing. I've been doing like remote closing since probably 2015, 2016. But before that, I worked in a restaurant for like 7 years. So it's like I knew how to talk to people, and that helped out a ton. So if you have a skill set that you feel like that kind of lends itself to that, heck, jump in closing. But I do see a ton of value for for someone that is just getting into the remote sales space to jump in as a setter, because not only do you get, some of the setters we've had on here, they're making $10,000, $15,000 a month, and that's entry level jobs. And you get to learn a ton in that time frame. So just to add on to that, there's another one here. When he makes $10K a month, is he keeping his trucking business? Are you keeping your trucking business in the future?
You're damn right. That's an income producing asset, man. You
Nice.
gotta keep that. Yeah. And my lady runs it. I'm completely hands off.
All that being said, I want you to think of like maybe one or two like last tips that you would give someone that's like in RCA thinking about jumping into it, and I'll give you some time to think about that. But for those of you that are listening, you're listening on the podcast app or the YouTube channel, if you've made it this far, we're like 50 minutes in at this point, you're probably interested about remote closing and what it is. So what I invite you to do, down in the description on YouTube and then on the show notes on the podcast app, there's a video. It's about, 30 minutes long, I think. And it breaks through the entire process from beginning to end, what remote closing is, how to get started, the steps you can take to get started. And it also goes through Cole's story of how he, like we were talking about earlier, how the kind of godfather of remote closing, how he was able to do about $500,000 in commissions in his first year, doing it after he figured it out. So check out the link in the show notes if you're interested in that. But give us the last like one, two tips you would have for anyone that's jumping in.
Just take action, man. Just take action. Just act. Make the investment. Put in the work. The results show up.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, we'll end it on that one. If you have any questions for us, let us know down in the comments. I think you can't do it on the podcast app, but appreciate your time jumping on with us today here for the past hour. Lots of fun, lots of nuggets that we dropped on here. And if you guys want to stay up to date with everything that we're doing here on the podcast or on the YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment. And this is Aaron from the Remote Closing Academy podcast. We'll see you guys on the next one. Talk soon, and peace.